Elena Rybakina revealed Alex Eala was harder to beat than she expected. And when you hear what actually happened on that clay court in Rome on May 10th, 2026, you'll understand exactly why. She came in as the world number 2, a 2-time Grand Slam champion, the most dominant server in women's tennis right now, and still a 20-year-old from the Philippines forced her to dig deeper than almost anyone anticipated. Nobody gave Eala a real chance. The predictions were polite but blunt. Rybakina in straight sets done by the second hour. No drama. But tennis doesn't care about predictions. And what unfolded at the 40 Italico on May 10th, 2026 was something far more complicated, far more emotional, and far more important than a simple scoreline could ever tell you. Stay with us until the end because the real story isn't just who won. It's what this match revealed about both of these players and what it means for the future of women's tennis. To understand why this match mattered so much, you have to understand who these two women are and how different their journeys have been to reach the same clay court under the Roman sun. Elena Rybakina is 26 years old, born in Moscow, raised in Kazakhstan, and by 2026, she had become one of the most feared players on the entire WTA tour. She is not loud. She is not theatrical. She doesn't pump her fist after every winner or scream at her box when things go wrong. Rybakina operates with a quiet, almost eerie efficiency that unnerves opponents before the match even begins. Her serve is a weapon unlike anything else in women's tennis. Not just powerful, but precise, capable of landing on lines that most players wouldn't even aim for under pressure. She won Wimbledon in 2022. She won the Australian Open in 2026, defeating world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka in the final. By the time the Italian Open arrived, she carried a staggering 28-6 win-loss record for the season, had already claimed the Australian Open and Stogard titles, and was leading the entire WTA Tour with 29 main draw victories. The Italian Open in 2023 already belonged to her. She was not coming back to Italy to reminisce. She was coming back to add to a legacy that was still being written. And then there was Alex Eala, 20 years old, world number 37, a left-hander from the Philippines who learned tennis through the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain and carried an entire nation's hope on her young shoulders every time she stepped on a court. Before Rome, the clay court season had been unkind to her. Early exits in Austria, a first-round loss in Stuttgart, a second-round defeat in Madrid. The surface that should have suited her aggressive baseline game had instead exposed her inconsistencies. But Rome was different. Something shifted. She beat Magdalena Fresh in the opening round, grinding through 3 sets with a 6-36, 64 victory that showed both her brilliance and her grit. Then came Wang Xinyu, the world number 33, who had already beaten Eala earlier in the year. This time Eala didn't just win. She dominated 64-33, converting 7 of 11 breakpoint opportunities and hitting winners from angles that made even seasoned observers stop and take notice. For the first time in her career, Alex Eala had reached the 3rd round of a WTA clay court main draw event. She was playing the best clay court tennis of her life, and her next opponent was the defending champion of the very tournament she stood in. Before the match, Rybakina was asked about Eala's lefty game. Her response told you everything about how seriously she was taking this. "We didn't even practice before," she said. "Knowing that she's a lefty, I will get someone who is a lefty to practice. I will definitely talk to the team on the tactic and fight for each point." Read that again. The world number 2 with 29 wins on the season was arranging special practice sessions to prepare for a 20-year-old ranked 37th in the world. That alone should have been the warning sign that this match was going to be something different. Keep watching because what happened in that opening game would set the tone for everything that followed. The match was scheduled for Sunday evening at the BNP Paribas Arena. And from the very first game, it became clear that this was not going to be the clinical dismantling that most had predicted. Eala served first. And in that very first service game, she needed 11 points just to hold serve. 11. Think about that for a moment. The average first service game in a professional match lasts 5 or 6 points. 11 points means rallies, pressure, deuce, saves, grind. It meant that Rybakina had come out sharp, aggressive, immediately looking for vulnerabilities. But it also meant that Aya held under maximum pressure in the biggest match of her young career. She held her opening service game. That was the first sign. The turning point in the opening set came in the third game, a brutal 13-point marathon that felt less like a single game of tennis and more like a condensed version of the entire match's emotional arc. Rybakina navigated the pressure, eventually breaking Aya's serve after a sequence of rallies that had both players pushing every physical and tactical limit. The break gave Rybakina a 2-1 lead in the first set. It was the kind of moment where most young players facing a Grand Slam champion on a big court would begin to fracture. But Aya didn't fracture. She kept pressing. Both players held their serve from the 5th to the 10th, which in itself tells a story. Rybakina's service game is almost impenetrable. She fired 4 aces in the first set alone compared to Aya's single ace. Her first serve percentage stayed high. Her second serve had enough kick to keep Aya from attacking, and her ground strokes sat relentlessly deep, pinning Aya behind the baseline and limiting her ability to create angles. And yet, Aya stayed within reach all the way to 54, even saving a set point on her 5th service game. A lesser player would have crumbled long before that moment. Aya forced Rybakina to serve out the set, and that is not nothing. Rybakina won the first set 6-4 in 51 minutes. The margin feels comfortable on paper. It did not feel comfortable on that court. The second set began with an immediate statement from Rybakina in approximately 5 minutes. You could feel the weight of the moment. One set down, a break in the hole, facing a champion who loses focus for approximately never. This was the moment Aya was supposed to mentally exit the match. She did the opposite. She broke straight back. Then she held her own serve. Suddenly, improbably, the second set score line read 2-1 in favor of Alexandra. Aya, a 20-year-old from the Philippines, playing her first ever match against the world number 2, had just taken a lead in the second set of an Italian Open third round. The crowd, which had been politely observing, became suddenly, loudly alive. But here's where it gets fascinating, because the question was never whether Aya could lead. It was whether she could survive what came next. In elite tennis, there is a specific and terrifying moment when a great champion decides to stop allowing a match to be close. It's not always visible in the statistics right away. It reveals itself in posture, in the weight behind shots, in the lack of hesitation before decisions that could go either way. When Rybakina shifted gears in the middle of that second set, you could feel it. Down 23, Aya needed to hold her serve to stay in contention. In that critical game, Rybakina presented 3 breakpoint opportunities. She converted 1. The lead was gone. Rybakina reclaimed control at 3-2. And from that moment, she played with the quiet, remorseless precision that has made her one of the most consistent players on the tour all season. What made this stretch of the match so revealing was not just the power. Rybakina had been precise all match and how she neutralized what Aya was trying to build. Aya's left-handed serve produces a natural kick out wide on the deuce side that gives right-handed returners trouble. Rybakina had prepared for exactly this. She had gone out and found a left-handed practice partner, specifically to work on return patterns, and it showed. Her return position adjusted. She took time away from Aya on wide serves. She turned potential free-point situations into contested rallies where Rybakina's baseline depth gave her the advantage. There was also the late second set moment that commentators have replayed several times since. A missed opportunity at the net from Eala that could have created breakpoint chances and potentially changed everything. She found herself in a position to step forward and apply pressure, and the ball clipped the top of the net on her side and fell short. Rybakina capitalized immediately, held her serve, and from there sealed the match with a powerful forehand winner struck into the open court. Final score 64-63, 1 hour and 32 minutes of tennis. On paper, it looks straightforward, but the statistics inside the match tell a more complicated story. Rybakina converted 4 of 7 breakpoint opportunities. Aya converted 1. Rybakina served 6 aces. Aya served 1. And yet, in the second set, Aya's record against top 10 players was pushed to 34, meaning she has now beaten 3 players from inside the top 10 in her young career. Victories over Coco Gauff, Madison Keys, Egyet, and Jasmine Paolini are already in her record. Rybakina did not become that fifth name, but the manner in which ISA competed meant the question of when, not if, is already being asked. Before this match, Rybakina had spoken specifically about preparing for ISA's left-handedness. After the match, the narrative around the tour was clear. This had been harder than the scoreline suggested. One analyst noted plainly that the Filipina teenager never looked overwhelmed by the moment, which against a player of Rybakina's quality is perhaps the most meaningful compliment available. So, what did Rybakina actually reveal in her post-match words? And why has the tennis world been talking about it ever since? Here is where this story takes the turn that the title of this video promised you. In the build-up to the match, Rybakina had been candid about her preparation. The admission that she needed a left-handed sparring partner, specifically sourced to prepare for Eala's game, was already a significant acknowledgement. But what emerged from the conversations around her post-match reaction was something that resonated deeply, not just with tennis analysts, but with the global audience that had been watching Eala's rise with growing fascination. Rybakina had gone into this match knowing Eala's left-handed serve would cause problems. What she didn't fully anticipate was the level of mental composure Eala would bring to the biggest match of her career. This is a player who just weeks earlier had been losing in the first and second rounds on clay with little to suggest a breakthrough was coming. And yet in Rome under the lights against the world number 2, Eala played without fear. She took the match to Rybakina. She broke back when broken. She led in the second set. She made Rybakina work for every single point. The match lasted 1 hour and 32 minutes. And for a significant portion of that, it was genuinely competitive. The preparation Rybakina undertook for this match, finding a left-handed practice partner, adjusting tactics with her coaching team, arriving with a specific game plan rather than just her standard excellence, was itself a form of respect. The world number 2 does not typically need to reconstruct her practice schedule for a player ranked 37th in the world. The fact that she did says everything about the reputation Eala has built, especially after her stunning wins over top 10 players throughout her career. There is something else worth saying here, and it connects to the broader arc of Eala's season. Before Rome, she had struggled on clay in Austria, Stuttgart, and Madrid. The losses were piling up on a surface she hasn't yet mastered. Coming into the Italian Open, her clay court record was quietly concerning. But Eala is a player who learns differently, not from clean victories, but from high-pressure encounters. The Wang Sena match, where she converted 7 of 11 break points, was a breakthrough in confidence. And then she channeled that confidence directly into a match against one of the best players in the world. What Rybakina revealed both in her preparation and in how long it took her to truly put Eala away was that the 20-year-old from Manila is no longer an interesting prospect. She is a real threat. She is the kind of player that world number TWs need to prepare for specifically. That is a different category entirely. The gap between rising prospect and world-class contender isn't just talent. It's pace, decision-making under pressure, and knowing when to attack and when to survive. Rybakina is still on the right side of that gap, but the distance is closing and everyone in Rome could feel it. But what happens next for both of them might be the most important part of this entire story. The Italian Open 2026 gave us a scoreline that looked simple on paper, but inside that 64-63 result lived one of the most revealing stories of the season. Elena Rybakina showed why she is the most dominant player in women's tennis right now. Alex Eala showed why the world number 2 felt the need to prepare specifically for her. And together they gave us 92 minutes of tennis that meant something. Not just for their individual careers, but for the future of the entire sport. This is what tennis looks like when a new generation starts knocking on the door of greatness. And we are all lucky enough to be watching it happen in real time. If this video told you something you didn't already know about these two incredible athletes, hit that subscribe button right now. We cover women's tennis the way it deserves to be covered, with depth, with honesty, and with the respect the game has earned. New videos drop every week. Don't miss what's coming.